Thank you for joining us. This is Coping with COVID-19 by Crossroads Counseling. I'm Travis Frye, marriage and family therapist. And today I'm joined by the Crossroads therapists who work with teens and children. So please welcome Deanna Moor, Tim Shaffer, Alan Ketterling, and Kaylee Rhodes. So today we know that parents are home with kids are home with parents, and there's a lot going on. Life has dramatically and drastically changed. And so we wanted to take a few moments to talk about your children, talk about your teens, and really discuss how you as a parent can be tuned in with them and be proactive and really know what to be looking for. And so, hey guys, with everything that's happening in the world right now, all of the changes, kids being out of school, really losing school, parents having to make drastic shifts and changes. What are some of the signs and symptoms of like depression, stress, or anxiety, or even trauma that parents should be aware of and looking for with their children and also their teenagers?
Yeah, that's a great question, Travis. And I think that, it could be showing up in any number of ways, especially because kids are so different. Kids and teens are so different just across the lifespan. And so, a lot of our younger kids communicate in actions. And so often, when they're stressed, anxious, depressed, they're not going to come up to us and tell us very clearly. They'll show us in a lot of their behaviors. So it might look like I'm having more temper tantrums at home, or, I'm just getting really angry. I'm getting really, really upset. Just kind of showing us through the actions that this, change in routine, that these things are really impacting them. All the way up to, teenagers might be demonstrating, isolating in their room, or just, crying a lot. It's important to notice just a shift in the behaviors. And it could look different just depending on the age or depending on your kid, what might be coming up for them. Yeah.
So a shift in their behaviors. And it sounds like what you're saying is a lot of times, whatever is happening emotional, whatever stress, anxiety, or worry that they're experiencing, parents should be looking for kind of the outward manifestations of that, what's happening in their behavior. And I'm guessing that's kind of what's beyond their normal range of behavior. Yeah, do any of you others have any thoughts about that? Signs that parents should be aware of, that they should be looking for?
Yeah, I'll chime in, Travis. I think with teens in particular, maybe one sign is if they're sleeping more, or maybe they're already sleeping a lot, but then even more so with everything that's going on, whether it's lack of structure, lack of school. I think that leads to just a confusion on like, what does my day look like? What's my routine look like now? Now I don't even have school to think about, or maybe there's online school, but that just kind of seems so like in the clouds right now. And so I think there's just a lot of confusion that leads to just a lack of purpose, and it makes the day just kind of seem like just kind of hard to get through and a little bit confusing for them.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to think about or to look for is irritability. I think, you might see some irritability in responses from your kids. I think you might see lack of interest in other things that they used to be interested in, or lack of motivation. And that really speaks to, them feeling maybe depressed or some anxiety around things. So to really be watching for that.
So irritability, lack of sleep, changes in their behavior. These are really good things that parents can, they can outwardly detect and see. It's hard to see what's going on internally with our kids but these are the signs and symptoms that parents should be looking for. So, you know, what we're going through is really unprecedented. None of us have experienced something like this. It's been, you know, it's been pretty dark and pretty trying. I think on most people. I can't imagine who hasn't had some level of distress as we've been going through this. And so, what would you say to the mom or dad who's out there right now, who is who's trying to find a way to talk about what's going on with their child, whether that's a younger child or even their teen? You know, what kind of words would you say to that parent that's really struggling to engage and connect with their child, and just talk about this darkness that we're in right now?
Well, I think that, you know, just with any sort of just big event that happens in our kids' lives, big change, you know, there are just some important components on how we're having those conversations. Again, depending on how old they are. You know, often kids when they're younger, if we're not giving them clear language or age appropriate information, you know, they will start to create a narrative and a story about what's happening in their world, in their head. And so being able to hold space for conversations and just say, hey, you know, provide clear information, but we also don't want to feed into a lot of that worry. You know, hey, this is what's going on. This is why you're home from school. And, you know, this is a really scary time, and I'm here for you. And any questions that you might have, I just want you to know that I'm here. And you might be providing a little bit more information to teenagers who have access. They're seeing all of this all over social media, all of the things that are bringing up anxiety for them. And so we want to be able to guide that narrative for them too, to say, hey, you know, our family's okay, and this is what we're doing in this time, and this is how we're handling it, and I just want to let you know that we're going to be okay and that we're here. And so just sending those messages of, hey, I'm here for you, and this is what's going on, and this is how our family's handling it, so that it gives them some space to create that story in their head without just kind of trying to piece it together, if that makes sense.
I think that's really good, Deanna. I think the other thing to think about too, especially with teenagers or even preteens, is that they're getting a lot of information from social media. And so I think it's really important to maintain that conversation with your kids in a way that you can help them, you know, answer any questions, because there's so much information out there, and some of it's mixed and some of it's accurate. And so really just being able to maintain that is really important, so that you can help them kind of sift through what's valid, what's not valid, you know, how we should be handling different things, and how we should be, you know, managing our day-to-day life and those sorts of things.
Definitely. I would add that frequent check-ins, you know, doing frequent check-ins, keeping that door, that conversation open with them. So maybe one day they don't have a lot of strong feelings about this, but the next day they might, just like that process that we're going through. So keeping that open, doing frequent check-ins, and just letting them know that they're, you know, it's okay however they feel. If they feel fine about this, that's okay too. If they feel really scared, that's okay too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think just to piggyback off of what everyone else said, I think really just having grace for yourself. So just adjusting to this new normal is a process, and having grace for yourself and for your kids is going to be key to coping with this, because if we place unrealistic expectations on ourselves and on our family, then it makes everyone butt heads, and a lot of tension can come about from that. But if we just kind of realize that we're all just trying to adapt to this as best we can, just trying to get through it day by day, like just being able to have grace for yourself and for one another, I think is really huge.
We can all use more grace, especially right now. I'm curious, guys, what would you say to the mom or dad who's listening, who's trying to figure out, they're going through their own process, right? They have their own emotions, a lot of stress. What would you say to that parent? Like, how much should they talk to their child or their teen about their own anxiety and their own worry? What's a good, healthy kind of balance there?
That's a really good question. I think it depends on, the relationship already that exists and how you do that. You obviously want it to be as natural as possible. I think, maybe it's not always the best, but I think it's what matches your kid. And so I think, sometimes personal check-ins would be good. I think even sometimes, texting your kid, even if they're in the same house, might be a way to engage them. At least get them to talk with you. I think, that's not necessarily, preference, but that's one of the things that might be effective in really getting to reach to them and reach out to them. And, but I think that with younger kids, it might just be, asking them how they're feeling, and really a good time to check in on emotions and be able to identify emotions, and also expressing it to your child, maybe at a developmentally appropriate age, how you might be feeling or things that you might be experiencing, but obviously matching that to the age of the kid and what they can handle. But I think that sometimes even sharing about how we feel as parents can really affect, our kids and help them, know that it's okay to have these feelings and talk about them too.
That's great. And I chuckled when you talked about texting your kids, because I've done just that. Even though my son is upstairs and I'm downstairs, I can't get a hold of him otherwise. So, kids, teens, especially teens, actually all of us, I think, are very social. We need relationships. Teens love to hang out with their friends. Kids like to go out and play with their friends, be on the playground, all of those things. So during this time of, social distancing, when kids cannot have that, face-to-face engagement and interaction, what would you say to, the mom or dad, the parent who's listening, and what kind of a guidance or advice would you give to them, just to help kids with the social distancing aspect of what's happening right now?
I think it's a really good point, especially, our kids, our teens love being around their friends, like you said, and it's something that really is just so normal and so good for them to kind of be engaging, and we're at a loss for that right now. And so I think it's just like Tim was saying before, it's a balance of grace, that this is going to be something that's hard. This is going to be something that is going to be really difficult to adjust to, not being able to connect with our friends as much or get out of the house, kind of recharge in that way. So having that grace for your kids and for yourself. And also there's so many ways to get creative with technology now too, using this time to create space for fun family time, playing games with each other, capitalizing on that time together. But just even as we're sitting together right now, if your kids are older, encouraging them to FaceTime and reach out to their friends and play games and do the things that they would normally do, just in a different setting. Encourage them to stay connected if they're older and they can.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off what Deanna said, I think this could be a really great time to capitalize on if there's a bunch of board games you have sitting around that you just have never played before or have never really found the time to carve out for that. I think this is an opportune time to just like get goofy, get silly, get out of your comfort zone. Maybe even ask your kid or your teen to see what games they're playing online, or what games you could play with them, whether it's a team-based game or just even like engaging and watching them play it. Again, I think this could be a good time to maybe connect with them over something that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise.
Make some TikTok videos, that seems to be the thing to do these days.
Time to play some Fortnite.
That's right.
So I love the ideas that you guys have, and I think this is going to be very helpful to a lot of people. At what point do you think a parent should be kind of more alarmed and more concerned and think about, sorry, my phone's ringing, But at what point do you think a parent should be more alarmed, concerned about their child's kind of mental health and emotional well-being? And yeah, let's start there. At what point do you think a parent should think, okay, this is kind of really beyond normal? Maybe I should think about getting help.
I think, one of the things that you would be looking for is a difference in their behavior that's maybe outside of kind of what's normally going on. So, you want to be looking for that stuff that we talked about at the beginning. Maybe there's this lack of interest or motivation that is above sort of the initial, now we're home, staying in the house a little bit more, and now what do I do? It's, it maybe has lasted a couple weeks or something, and it's not finding a new routine and that kind of a thing. I think those are things to be looking for when it kind of falls outside of that, or maybe the length of time is extended beyond, kind of what is, typical, or what you're seeing from other kids that you have or other friends that you have that have kids and things like that.
That's great.
Yeah, I would agree, especially with like withdrawing from the family. If you're not able to engage them, or they're not interested in spending time with the family, that may be a warning sign that they need some extra support. And with older kids and teens, I think that they're pretty in tune with how they feel, maybe more than we give them credit for. So developing some type of check-in with them, even if it's like a 1 through 10 system, where at a certain number at a certain point, they would know that they need some extra help. And that's how you as a parent can be checking in with them and make sure you can reach out and get them the help that they need.
Something that I also think has been really valuable, and that it's kind of highlighted in this shift, has been being able to work relationally too. Are you noticing that, hey, this shift, we're all in the same house together, and this is really putting a strain on mom and kiddos relationship, on our parents? How do we navigate getting through this all together and being able to say, okay, we just keep having these fights, we're not getting anywhere, we're not hearing each other, and we need some help just kind of figuring out how in communication as a family we adjust to this, because we can't seem to do it ourselves.
Great. Maybe a couple of you can talk about your experiences working with a child, a teen, or even a family, or even talking to a parent via the medium of online counseling, and what that has been like for you, and how effective that is as well.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I've been loving doing telehealth with some of the kids I work with. First of all, just to be introduced to their pets or to animals they have at home, and maybe introduce them to my pet if they feel comfortable with that. And then they'll do whatever they're comfortable with. So they'll take me on a virtual tour of the home, do show and tell, really giving me a window into their world that otherwise I wouldn't see at the office. And I think personally for me, that's been my favorite part of it, is just seeing more of their world at their pace that they're comfortable with. And that's been really fun.
Great. And it gives parents a break.
True. I think the other thing too, and Deanna and Kaylee both know this too, doing in-home therapy is very familiar to us, and so this is a step back into that a little bit, and I think that we get to see relationships in kind of the natural environment that the kids live in, and we get to see how things work a little bit easier through this. So I think it's one of those things where like Tim was saying, we have a natural window into kind of what life is like for them, and so that really can enhance what we do, because we can really see how things are going at home and we can really experience it that way. And so it really helps us kind of deepen and enrich in what we're trying to do with the family as well.
Mm-hmm.
Health was pretty new to us too, so I've told my clients that, and we've gotten creative together whether they're getting their own art supplies and I get mine and we're doing things together over the video. I've had a lot of success with that, and the kids and the teens seem to be engaged and willing to do it. The teens are a little bit more comfortable, I think, using platforms, you know, talking through FaceTime with their friends, so this is a little familiar to them. So they've been pretty open to this.
I agree. I think just piggybacking on what everyone else has been saying, it's been such an honor to kind of walk into their world a little bit, where private practice, you don't always get the opportunity to do that. And working with a lot of teens, I think, you know, this is their language. Technology is their language. And so being able to connect with them on that in a time where they really need it has been really cool.
As we are closing here, just want to give anyone just a chance to offer any words of encouragement to a parent who might be listening right now. You know, it's a hard time.
I think what I would say is, you know, make sure you're taking breaks for yourself. Self-care is still really, really important during this time. And it looks different than, you know, being able to leave the house and do some things like that. But I think that we can do things within our home or backyards or whatever it is to really take some time to do self-care. I think that's important for our kids to learn too. So I think modeling that would be good. And I think that can come in the form of, you know, taking 30 minutes to go listen to some music or, you know, read a book or do some sort of hobby or activity. I think that that's really important to maintain during this time. And I think that that will also help give you enough, you know, encouragement to keep going. The other thing that I think I would say to that too is look at it moment by moment. Don't look at it as a whole day that we have to move through. Let's get through, you know, the next 30 minutes or this activity or things like that, and really break up the day into pieces that we're trying to manage, rather than looking at the whole time or however long we think we'll be in this place of being in our home. So I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think in a similar vein to what you said, Alan, there's kind of an idea that's going around of like using this time to get a lot of stuff done and be like ultra productive and get projects done. But I also think that can kind of lead into a message that is shame-based or making you feel like you're not doing enough. And so to the parents out there and the families out there that feel like they're not doing enough or not getting enough done or not using this time to be productive, I would say that that's okay. Like if you're just getting through this one day at a time, that's the best you can do, and that's perfectly fine.
Love that. And I think, you know, connection builds resiliency, and connection is so important. Creating space to connect with your kids, but having connection for yourself, you know, filling up your bucket to make sure that you have social support, parents, that, you know, you're reaching out, you are not alone. You know, this has been such a big change for everybody, and just knowing that, you know, people are in this with you, and figuring out how we can kind of hold each other through this is going to be so important. So reach out when you need help to the people that you know are safe.
Wonderful. Yeah, I just want to encourage parents, caretakers of children and teens who are listening to this to, you know, reach out, especially if they are feeling overwhelmed and really struggling, just to know how to navigate what to do during this time. And if your child or your teen is struggling, you're seeing behaviors that are beyond the normal range, whether they're overly withdrawn or, you know, kind of going the other way where they're more defiant and irritable, they're just not their normal self. That is a sign that something is happening inside. And you know, as you're learning today, doing teletherapy, video conferencing, it can help. It can help parents and it can help kids and teens. And so thanks for being with us today. It was our honor to be able to reach out to you during this time. And just want to send that encouragement that we're all in this together, and together we're going to get through it. So thank you. Blessings to you.